What is going on? Welcome to episode 6 of the NFLTalkZone Podcast. I'm your host, Nicolas, joined by my co-host, Graham. Today, we are going to be talking about NFL awards, 2022 NFL awards. The NFL season is just over a week away now. It seems like the offseason has flown by. I don't know about you, Graham, but do you think it's flown by?
Yes, bro. I'm so excited. Football is back.
So we're going to be doing the NFL awards today. We're going to have 3 candidates for each NFL award. That's MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Defensive Rookie of the Year. So a lot of awards to go through. This is going to be a long podcast because we have a lot of news with all the cuts and just the end of preseason overall to start with before we get into the awards. So, Graham, are you ready to get into the news, or do you have anything to say?
No, I got nothing else to say. I'm ready to get into the news. So what's been going on in the NFL, Nick?
So, okay, but before we actually get into like the cuts and stuff with trades, we're gonna talk about just quick preseason takeaways. I don't know if you have anything to say on the preseason takeaways. My preseason takeaway is that the Bears are 3-0 in preseason. There should be a preseason Super Bowl so we could actually win something this year because our team looked really good in the preseason. Just all overall depth, and watch out, the Bears are coming.
Not that O-line.
I don't actually think we're going to be very good this year, but I liked what I saw in the preseason. It makes me a little bit more excited going into the season than I was before the preseason for my team specifically. So that's my quick preseason takeaway. Anything for you, Graham?
So preseason was not that bad for me. I did attend one.
Fast.
Yeah, it went really quick. I did attend one preseason game. That was the week 1 Saints versus the Texans, and I saw a lot of good things. My eyes was opened up to one specific player that we will be talking about later during the pod. I saw him for the first time. I was like, wow, this guy is going to be good.
We actually are going to talk about him like on the first award. But got a chat already? W podcast, Noah. Yeah, we got a W podcast. Thank you. But we can move on to the quick news. Jimmy Garoppolo staying with the 49ers on a reworked contract for $6.5 million. I believe he was going to be making in like the $24 million range before that, so it was a big pay cut. But he has a no trade clause, so that means he can still be traded. They're just going to have to. Who's Lunar? Lunar says yes, so we got a W podcast going. But anyway, back to Jimmy Garoppolo. So he's staying with the Niners, $6.5 million rework contract, no trade clause. What do you think, Graham, of Jimmy Garoppolo staying in San Francisco? I was honestly shocked when I saw this. I thought he was gonna be cut within a day or so, and then they all of a sudden just have a reworked deal. And I was surprised he would even take that big pay cut and stay. Maybe he just really likes the Niners team, even though they were clearly moving on from him as a starter. So what do you think?
I think that this actually is more of a win for Jimmy Garoppolo than a loss. He gets to stay in a system that he knows. He gets to be in a backup position where he doesn't necessarily have to like prove himself, but he also doesn't have something to where like he's looking bad. Would you rather go to stay on a winning team and be a backup and enjoy nearly $10 million for a year and just sit there? Or would you rather go get paid $3 or $4 or $5 million to go play for the Seattle Seahawks? I would rather be on the 49ers, be a backup, keep developing your game, keep learning from Kyle Shanahan, learn the offense, and then maybe this offseason go try to find a starting job somewhere.
Yeah, and I like how he can, if they get him traded during the season, he can go to any team he wants because he has no trade clause.
Exactly.
He can pick a trade basically if a team will have the quarterback get hurt. But we can move on since we got a lot to cover today. We'll talk about your guy, Chauncey Garder-Johnson, traded from the New Orleans Saints to the Philadelphia Eagles. What I get of this is it was probably more of they couldn't get a contract done, an extension, so they just traded him at this point.
Yep.
But you're trading one of the better inside corners in the league, in my opinion. So I feel like this does hurt New Orleans a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be anything drastic. But, man, the Eagles with their corners now, Darius Slay, Chauncey Garder-Johnson, and who's the other guy? James Robinson. So they're gonna be really stacked in that corner. They're kind of going all in this year. They did cut both the starting, who I thought were going to be the starting safeties, in Anthony Harris and Jaquiski Tart. So that was kind of surprising. But as far as the corners go, they're looking very good, and they're going all in to win the Super Bowl this year.
So my viewpoint on this trade is the Saints could not get a contract going. Chauncey Gardner has been sitting out of all the team drills. He's only been just doing walkthroughs and playing the preseason games. They couldn't get a contract done, so they traded Chauncey Garder-Johnson to this Philadelphia Eagles for a 5th round this year, 6th round next year, and the 7th round the year after that. Which to me, I think the Eagles won this trade in a landslide. They have enough money to pay Chauncey Garder-Johnson to be he will not be a cornerback. He will not be a slot cornerback for the Eagles. He will actually be playing strong safety for the Eagles, and that's why they cut Tart. So I don't think you knew that. But yeah, I personally, as a Saints fan, it is disappointing that Chauncey Gardner is gone. He's a really good player. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league. We all saw what he did to Tom Brady with the whole thing. He's got game. He's got swag. You know a little bit about Chauncey Gardner yourself, buddy. I mean, after the Bears game a couple years ago, when your guy Mr. Mims absolutely punched the crap out of him for absolutely no reason. But yeah, that was.
So we have one more trade to talk about, then we'll get into the award predictions. We're talking about Laviska Shenault trade to the Carolina Panthers from the Jacksonville Jaguars for a 6th and a 7th round pick.
Yep.
Just 7th? No, 6th and a 7th. So I feel like this is going to be this kind of under the radar trade. I don't think he was going to do much on Jacksonville. Well, at least I thought he could have if they utilized him, but it didn't seem like they wanted to utilize him. But on the Panthers now, it reminds me of 2020 Curtis Samuel on the Panthers, how he had like over 1,000 scrimmage yards, rushing and receiving, gadget guy. I think Laviska Shenault can be that in that role. This kind of hoods Terrace Marshall stock. You know who I'm talking about, right?
LSU receiver.
LSU receiver who was a rookie last year. Third receiver didn't do much, but they do have DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and now a kind of do-it-all guy in Laviska Shenault Jr. is the third option. So I think that helps the receiving core a little bit, and I think it's a little sneaky good trade for Carolina, especially with the value.
Yeah, I definitely like this trade for Carolina. It's giving Baker Mayfield another weapon to throw to, and like you said, he's very versatile. I could see him being in that Curtis Samuel role where he's going to be lining up in the backfield, going to be lining up in the slot, out wide, giving him different opportunities to be successful. Also, don't forget, my man is a special teams. He's really good at special teams. He's really good at returning kicks, returning punts. But yeah, I'm excited to see what he does for Carolina. We'll be playing him twice this year, of course, like every other year. And I think he'll actually do really good. I think he fits the Carolina Panthers very well. Jacksonville, this is also kind of the same thing with Chauncey Gardner. I believe Shenault's contract ends this year as well. So, he's probably not going to re-sign and, at least get some sort of value away from him.
So now we can get into the good stuff. The NFL award predictions for this upcoming NFL season. Anything to say before we get into the award predictions?
I feel like it's going to get a little spicy, Nick.
Yep, we definitely have we have 2 awards, I'd say, where we have very similar opinions, and the rest of them, we have a lot of different. So we can get into our first award. We're talking about the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Ooh. We both have
Jets.
Graham, I don't know if you've really looked at mine. I looked at yours because I made the graphic, but I don't know if you looked at all of mine, really. So this may surprise you.
I am looking right now.
But we have the same team running Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Different
player from the same team. Different player. I'm very curious as to why you have Breece Hall. I don't know if you've heard. He's apparently been the running back 2 behind Michael Carter. So what makes you think he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year if he's not right now the running back 1 going into the season?
So let's date back to 2017. New Orleans Saints drafted this guy in the 3rd round by the name of Alvin Kamara. He started the year off as running back 3 behind Mark Ingram and Adrian Peterson. Who ended up winning Rookie of the Year that year? Alvin Kamara. So being running back number 2 right now is not something I don't have a big deal with. I loved Breece Hall out of college. I can't believe he fell all the way to the 2nd round. I think he's going to do some great things with that New York Jets. I'm a little scared because they did lose Becton for pretty much going to be for the year. I know that doesn't really help that running offensive line that they really need to work on, but I think Breece Hall will get around that, and I think he's going to have a really good year once people get to see how good he actually is.
I have Garrett Wilson winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. He was in kind of the clear top 3 receivers in the draft. For me, I had Wilson, Bullocks, and Drake London in that just tier 1 of wide receivers who I'm very confident in being good players early on in this league. But Garrett Wilson, Drake London dealing with a little bit maybe injury concern early on with getting hurt in a preseason game, and I don't think he has very good quarterback play in Atlanta along with a better line. Treylon Burks, same, just he hasn't really had the best camp. It sounds like. Still think he's going to be a good player this year, but I'm really high on Garrett Wilson in this Jets offense. I think they're going to pass the ball a lot with Zach Wilson this year, and I think that Garrett Wilson's just going to have a monster year. I just really like his route running and his ability to just be a do-it-all receiver, and I think he's going to be one of those very good receivers early on. Not maybe quite to the Jefferson Chase level the last couple of years, but I don't think it's going to be too far off. I think he's going to be a top 10 to 15 receiver this year. Probably say top 15.
Yeah.
So we can move on to second. You have Chris Olave. I have Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, a little bit less confident in this than I was about a week or two ago because he might miss a couple weeks early on in the NFL this year, but I really liked him out of Michigan State. I think he's just very, very good running back, and I think he's going to be the running back 1 the second he steps on the field over Rashad Penny. And I think in this offense in Seattle, Pete Carroll now losing Russell Wilson, they're going to be a very run-heavy team, and I think Kenneth Walker is going to be the head man of that. So that helps his odds. So what do you have to say about your number 2 guy for offense rookie of the year?
I like Chris Olave coming out of college. He's very good, very crisp route runner. He reminds me a lot of Michael Thomas coming out of college from Ohio State, except he has a little bit more speed than Michael Thomas. And I think that first year when Michael Thomas came into the league, he did very well. I can see the same thing going with Chris Olave. He's got a quarterback who can sling the football. He wants to throw the football really deep. Chris Olave has got that deep route running. I think almost everything adds up. Plus, we don't know if Michael Thomas is going to be the same. So by the end of the year, Chris Olave could be our number 1 receiver. And I think that could play very well into his Rookie of the Year odds.
You think Michael Thomas could be traded?
I don't think he'll be traded. I don't necessarily think we're going to give up on him that fast. But I definitely do think that there's definitely questions. He seems to be committed with the Saints right now, which is good. But who knows how he's going to play. And having a guy like Chris Olave, who's already young, athletic, has that route running as Michael Thomas does, and a quarterback who can give him the ball into open space. I like that idea. I think Chris Olave might be a top 15, 10 receiver by the end of the year. But that no hate against Garrett Wilson. I just think Chris Olave is already more NFL ready.
So we can move on to number 3. We have the same player. I think this was the player you were talking about a little bit earlier.
Yes, Dameon Pierce.
Dameon Pierce, really like him a lot. I think very good player coming out of college I think he fell too far in the draft. At Florida, it was just he didn't get enough first-team reps. He kind of was a split reps with another back, so that really hurt his stock. But you just see his ability to be a do-it-all runner, power, speed. That guy runs with so much power, so quick.
But he's very elusive.
And I like Dameon Pierce a lot, so I have him as my 3rd offensive rookie of the year. His preseason kind of helped his stock a lot. And they released Marlon Mack today. They already knew he was going to be running back 1 before that, but that's just the only guy he's competing with is Rex Burkhead. So I think I'm going to lock it in. Dameon Pierce goes for 1,000 yards, barring injury this year, and gets in the offensive rookie of the year conversation.
I absolutely agree with everything you said. So watching him in person was crazy because I had no idea who he was, to be honest with you. And then all of a sudden I see this running back who broke off for like multiple 15-yard gains, just trucking. He's also very elusive. He's got some moves on him. But he's not the fastest guy in the world either. He reminds me a lot of Mark Ingram. I can see a little bit of Mark Ingram in him. Plus, he pass blocks with no fear. Have you seen that video that blew up of him picking up number 40 from the Saints? I forget his name. It's a backup linebacker. He picked him up and threw him on the ground. Have you seen that video yet?
No, I don't know.
I'll have to send it to you. It's crazy.
Speaking of throwing people on the ground, your bold, well, I don't think it's bold. You say it's bold, but George Pickens is currently like top 5 in offensive rookie of the year odds after his impressive training camp. So I don't think it's bold to say he's a bold offense. Oh, I don't know what I'm saying.
It's a
I don't
dark
think it's
horse.
bold to say he's winning offensive player rookie of the year. It's not a dark horse, but anyway, you like George Pickens a lot. I guess it's a dark horse from my draft perspective because he wasn't in my top 10 of my draft receivers. So I guess it's a dark horse from that perspective. But going into the season after preseason, it's not a dark horse in my opinion. But preseason is always like hard to tell if it's going to actually translate.
I love George Pickens. I love the way he plays. He's got so much like tenacity. He just don't care. That video of him shoving the linebacker or the cornerback from the Jacksonville Jaguars, sitting on top of him and giving him a wave is just so disrespectful as a rookie. And then a couple of his toe tap touchdowns that I've seen already in preseason, he just looks really, really good right now. And I don't know if it's just because he's not against first team players, he's not getting the first team reps in preseason, or if he's genuinely just going to be this good this year. Because if he's going to play like how he did this preseason, he's probably going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's going to put up at least 1,300 yards, and he's going to put Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave down. That's just me, but I'm going to put him at the bold, the dark horse spot. Just right now, because looking at his odds and the sports betting, he is a little bit lower than the rest of these guys. So yeah.
At my bold offensive rookie of the year, I'm just going to not only say bold offensive rookie of the year, I'm just going to give a bold take. My draft comp for Alec Pierce was Cooper Kupp, and I like Alec Pierce a lot. I think he's has a good situation in Indianapolis, can be the complementary piece to Michael Pittman. I think this team is going to try to pass the ball more than years past with Matt Ryan this year. Still going to be a fairly good run team, but I think they're also going to pass it more than they have. So I think that gives Alec Pierce opportunities to be in this conversation, really. So I have him as a bold offensive rookie of the year just because his odds are so much lower compared to the players above him. But I wouldn't really say it's bold. I've actually seen someone on ESPN, Louis Riddick, predict Alec Pierce to win offensive rookie of the year. So that's that. But we can move on to defensive rookie of the year, where kind of both have obvious. I don't know if it. Well, yeah, it's obvious. Yours is a little less obvious, but mine's pretty much the obvious pick, Aiden Hutchinson. I think he's the favorite to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, the number 2 overall pick out of Michigan. I think he's going to be top 10 to 15 in sacks this year. I think he is just going to be very disruptive from early on in his career. I really liked him coming out of the draft. So I got Aiden Hutchinson winning this award. What do you have? Well, you have Derrick Stingley, but why?
I have Derrickson Stingley. I know cornerback is one of the hardest positions to come into for the NFL as a first year, especially as a rookie. I just like Derrick Stingley. I like his couple drives that I've seen in preseason. He looks like he's already caught up with the game. He knows the double moves are coming for the most part. He's really good in zone coverage. I've already seen that. And, watching him at LSU, he looked NFL ready as a freshman in college. So I'm expecting him to be that good this year as well. If you remember a couple years back, another Saints player, Marshawn Lattimore, as a cornerback, won it as a rookie as well. So I don't think it's too far off to say a cornerback's going to win Rookie of the Year. But moving on to my number 2, you have him as winning Aiden Hutchinson. Before we get into your number 2, I'm going to talk about my number 2. Aiden Hutchinson, like you said, I think he's actually going to be top 15 in sacks. I don't think about top 10. But I love Aiden Hutchinson. I loved him coming out of college from Michigan. Watching him in the playoffs, even though they did get destroyed, it was really good to see him go up against like top tier talent, like SEC talent, and to see that he still is that dominant force. He's not necessarily amazing at one specific thing, but he's really, really good at everything, which is something that you kind of need. So I'm excited to see him play this year. I just think Derrickson Stingley is just going to have a little bit better of a year.
To add to Derrick Stingley, I really liked what I saw in preseason 2, and I think some critics over the last 2 years at LSU was overblown, in my opinion. I don't think he actually regressed as much as some people said. I think it was mainly just hurt. I still think he was a very good corner, and I definitely think that he was worthy of the number 3 overall pick. Probably wouldn't have to come over Sauce Gardner, but I can understand it because of just the upside and the freakish ability that we saw.
The talent that he has, yeah.
Do you see that practice clip of him like completely locking up Jamar Chase?
Yes.
That was impressive locking up
as a freshman.
But we can talk about my number 2, Louis Stein. How do you say it?
I think it's Stein.
Louis Stein out of Georgia, the hard-hitting safety. Just I really like him a lot. I was just looking at the odds. He's 21st in odds for Defensive Rookie of the Year. So if I didn't have Lewis Stein second, he would be my dark horse, but I have him second, so I'm going to put him in second. I earlier in the offseason had Stein winning, but then I switched to Hutchinson. But I think Stein, one, I was already super high on him. Number one safety over Hamilton, in my opinion, in the draft. Just the range he can cover from that safety position. He can play in the box or free safety. His speed and his ability to hit really impresses. And like I said, that range helps him a lot in coverage, and he can make plays on the ball too. So I think he's a do-it-all guy. I think he's going to be very good in this league. So I got Lewis Stein at 2, and he got drafted by the perfect situation, in my opinion, with Harrison Smith, with a defense that I think is going to be one of the most improved units in the NFL this year. So I really like his situation and his talent, and he has impressed in camp. So I feel confident having Lewis Stein at second for Defensive Rookie of the Year. See how that take goes.
I don't know about this one. But moving on to number 3, we both have Kyle Hamilton. I'm going to start off with Kyle Hamilton. I loved him coming out of Notre Dame. He was my safety number 1. And it was tough because I was really debating on these top 3 guys because I can see all 3 of these guys winning. Kyle Hamilton, to me, I think he's also in a perfect situation because the Ravens is already so stout at the linebacker position. So he could play a little bit more of this in-the-box safety because he's so tall. He's not necessarily the fastest safety you'll ever get. He's actually pretty slow for his safety. So I think he's going to be playing in the box a lot more, kind of like a Jamal Adams. And for some reason, Defensive Rookie of the Year people, they love to see tackles as like a high percentage thing. I forgot the stat, but I saw it was like 5 out of like the 7 years, the guy who won Defensive Rookie of the Year had like top 50 in tackles in the league, which I don't know why.
Like a couple years ago, I think it was Jeremy Chin, who I think he got a lot of tackles, and he was like, I think 2 in Defensive Rookie of the Year, and I didn't think he really was that like amazing of a player. Still a good player, but I didn't think he was like in that conversation.
He didn't deserve to be,
But his tackles really helped him out.
Exactly why I think Kyle Hamilton's going to be in that position.
But I do think Kyle Hamilton is that guy, though, who can be.
Oh, yeah, 100%. He is that guy, but I think the tackles will help him go up to that. I could also see him getting a lot of interceptions. Like I said, he's going to be playing in the flats a lot. He's also going to be guarding tight ends. Since he's so tall and so long, he has that ability to go man-on-man with a guy like a Travis Kelce or he's on the same team, so that won't happen. I was going to say Mark Andrews, but that doesn't work. But I can see him going against a Darren Waller if they meet. Just, I can see him doing that, and that might lead into interceptions. But it'll be fun to watch Kyle Hamilton. What do you got on him?
Only thing I really have to add on Kyle Hamilton is, like I said, with Stein, perfect situation. That Ravens defense.
100%.
I had Stein just slightly over Hamilton in my draft rankings. They both went to amazing situations for the abilities. And so I'm just going to still keep Stein just slightly over Kyle Hamilton in my Defensive Rookie of the Year pick. But now on to the bold predictions. I got George Karlaftis. George Karlaftis, I think he was my edge 3 behind Thibodeau and Hutchinson in the draft. So I was very high on Karlaftis. And there were so many edge rushers, good edge rushers in the first round last draft with Jermaine Johnson, like I mentioned, Hutchinson, Thibodeau, and Trayvon Walker, the number 1 overall pick. I feel like Karlaftis was the guy who just kind of didn't get talked about enough and is going to actually be one of the best out of those guys, especially in his rookie year. Thibodeau being out for maybe a couple weeks early on could play into this, but Andrew had a bold take, and I don't think Thibodeau's bold. But George Karlaftis, I think, is going to be in this conversation at the end of the year. I think on Kansas City, he's going to put up good numbers with Chris Jones and Frank Clark there. So I like Karlaftis a lot. But you got an interesting player, Jordan Davis. The only way I can see this as bold, because he is in the top 10, I believe, for odds, and he's just very talented. The only way I can see this as bold, technically he's a backup right now because they have Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave at the starting defensive tackle spots, and they play a 4-3. So I think they're going to find a way, though, to get all 3 of them on the field at a lot of times. But why do you have Jordan Davis as bold?
So for me, Jordan Davis is bold because I know a lot of people have talked about him for his insane size, but no one's really talked about him playing, like his actual playing. So for me, Jordan Davis is a dark horse because, like I said, he's under the radar, but I love the way Jordan Davis plays. He's got to work on his stamina and being on the field for at least 3 downs a series. But I think him being in a rotation with those three guys is actually going to help him, and that's going to get him to do, like I said, for some reason, these voters love tackles. And Jordan Davis, you know what he's going to do? He's going to run stuff, and he's going to make tackles. And I'm super excited to see how he plays. I mean, we all saw that video of him absolutely bullying that center. I don't think that was Kelsey, I don't think. Forget who that center was.
I think I know a video you're talking about, but
yeah, where the center's just hopping back.
I don't think it was like bullying. I don't think the center
that was bullying. The
there
center
was like there was time, like it wasn't like right away he just got to the court where the quarterback would be. It was like it took him time. So I don't think he bullied him. I think that was an overblown video. But anyway, with Jordan Davis, I think he is getting talked about a lot for his play. You said his size, but his run defense is very good. I think it's going to be very good from day one.
I think he'll be one of the best in the league.
I had him comped to Vince Wilfork because I just didn't know who to comp him to going into the NFL.
He's so different.
But anyway, we can move on to comeback player of the year. Derrick Henry. We both have Derrick Henry. I don't think we need to say much about this award overall because it's kind of obvious with who the candidates are. Derrick Henry, though, coming off like only playing half of last year, I think this is clearly the obvious pick as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, I agree. There's not much to say about Derrick Henry. We already know he's the king. I am a little worried about his age. Age and health for running backs, when they collide, they don't usually work out well. But I think Derrick Henry's a little bit different because he's already so big and so, I still think he'll be okay.
We got Christian McCaffrey, 2 for me, 3 for you. I like McCaffrey a lot this year. I think he can maybe challenge Derrick Henry, but I still think Derrick Henry has the clear advantage at this point. But as long as CMC stays healthy, I think he's in this talk.
Yeah, I agree.
Want to talk about your number 2?
Yeah, I'll talk about my number 2 real quick. Michael Thomas, like I said, he's a question mark for me. If Michael Thomas comes back and he plays like Michael Thomas, he could very well win the thing. But if he comes back and he's a little rocky at the start and then he finally picks it up, I don't think he'll win it. I think he'll be in the running for it. I hope he comes back and he just comes back, exactly how he was before. No bumps in the road. But we'll see. I have him at number 2 right now. He'll probably be – I would maybe switch McCaffrey and Thomas right now. If I had to make that choice, I'd probably do that starting, now thinking about it. But I like Michael Thomas this year. I hope that he's going to come back and be really good. And then my number 3, Christian McCaffrey, you pretty much hit everything the nail on the head. If he comes back healthy, he's already in a pretty good situation. I think the Carolina Panthers offense as a whole is very underrated with Baker Mayfield as a starting quarterback and not the former defensive player of the year seeing quarterback of Sam Darnold. But
we can talk about my number 3 comeback player of the year, Matt Ryan. Comeback player of the year, usually it's a guy coming off an injury. Matt Ryan's not coming off an injury, but those some years, if a player kind of had a down year, it just wasn't very good the year before, and then comes back the next year and has just a monster season, he can be in the comeback player of the year talk, and I think that could be the case for Matt Ryan. New change of scenery, good weapons around him, good O-line. I think he's going to have a monster year statistically, which will really help his case to be in the conversation for this award. So I put Matt Ryan in there. Now on to a bold, guys. I got J.C. Horn. Second-year corner, second-year player, I just don't think it's getting talked about enough. I think I liked him a lot coming out of the draft, and he really showed promise early on last year before getting hurt. So I think he's going to have a monster year this year and be in this conversation.
Yeah, I like that pick. I kind of forgot about J.C. Horn, to be honest with you. He was really good out of the draft. He was really good last year. I remember he intercepted Jameis Winston. That was a terrible throw. But, I like him a lot. He's the son of Joe Horn, wide receiver from the New Orleans Saints. He's got a lot going for him. I know he's going to be – is he starting week 1? Is he going to be okay week 1? Is that confirmed? Or is he sitting is he on the PUP list?
I think J.C. Horn's fine week 1, but I'm going to
okay. Double check if he's not on the PUP list anymore because he was on the PUP list in the start of training camp. But nonetheless, I like J.C. Horn. I think he was the number 1 cornerback from the draft. I'm not a big fan of Patrick Surtain, but I like J.C. Horn. That's a good pick. But moving on to
it looks like J.C. Horn is back healthy right now, but I can't really find a good source confirming. But anyway, moving on to your comeback player of the year, bold prediction, Saquon. He was similar to Matt Ryan in the case that he wasn't really injured last year. He just didn't have a good year coming off the injury.
He was hurt. Yeah, he was a little hurt, though. He only played 13 games this past year.
Okay, but it wasn't like he was hurt for less than 10 games. Or he played less than 10 games.
if he comes back and he plays like Saquon, rookie Saquon, there's a chance he can be comeback player of the year, kind of like Matt Ryan. I don't know if it'll happen. He's kind of a 50-50 for me. Either he's going to be really good or this might be the last year he starts in football. That's just how I see it.
So you see really boom and bust potential.
Yeah.
I see Saquon being maybe a fringe top 10 running back, maybe being top 10 running back this year, but let's move on to offensive player of the year. Very similar in these, like almost identical. First top two, Jonathan Taylor won. Very close to winning it last year. I think he's going to win it this year just because as much it kind of plays into my number two. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to have a very similar statistical year to last year. And I think with this Colts team being very high on him, he just being a key part to them, really the success. I think he's going to put him in conversation to win, and I think this year ultimately win the award. But I kind of have to connect this with my second. Justin Jefferson, I think he's going to have a similar year as far as yards and receptions to Cooper Kupp last year, but I don't think he's going to go for the crazy amount leading the league in touchdowns that Kupp did, which could be why Jefferson doesn't win this award for me, and Jonathan Taylor wins it this year, unlike last year where Kupp won over Taylor. But what do you have to say about Jonathan Taylor and then Justin Jefferson?
Not much. You pretty much said exactly what I was going to say. I was actually going to say Jonathan Taylor is going to lead in rushing touchdowns, rushing yards, and then he's going to lead in for running backs with receiving yards, actually. I think Jonathan Taylor...
That's a lot to lead in. Receiving yards too, and rushing?
I think
that ever been done?
I don't know. I mean, like, receiving yards for running backs.
I mean, it's Stat Guy John to hit us up with the stat.
Yeah, Stat Guy John. But no, I was meaning, like, for running backs. I think the last guy to lead both I don't think it's ever happened, but I could see it because Jonathan Taylor, he's so underrated in open space and he has good hands.
I thought you were saying in general. I'm like, no, Jonathan Taylor is probably considered a top tier running back. He is
underrated with his, like, he's really good at route running for a running back.
The receiving ability is very good.
Yeah, I can see it. And I could truly see him being, like, getting that, like, almost an all-time kind of situation. But moving on to my number two guy, Justin Jefferson, I could also see him going Triple Crown this year. I could see him being a Cooper Kupp. I don't know if necessarily Kirk Cousins is that guy to give it to him, but, I mean, it's certainly possible. But, yeah, you pretty much said everything I needed to say about those two guys.
Do you want to cover your number three?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and cover my number three, Deebo Samuel. He got the contract situation down. There's no more drama with Deebo Samuel. So now he can solely focus on what he wants to be or what is going to happen this year. And I think this year they're going to continue using him the way he was before. He's going to continue being that number one receiver. He's also going to continue to be that weird run specialist, kind of like a Taysom Hill, but without the quarterback. I mean, he's almost revolutionized football, Deebo Samuel, in a way where there is going to be a flex position. So in fantasy football, you have your flex player, which is either you put a running back, tight end, or wide receiver. Deebo Samuel is about to make a flex position in football, and he's about to make that like an official position because he can run the football just as good as anyone in the league, and he can catch the football as good as anyone in the league. So that's why I have him at 3. He could do really good with both rushing and receiving yards, numbers-wise, and, I mean, put him at number 3.
So my number 3 offensive player of the year candidate for this NFL season is Jamar Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals. Jamar Chase, I think towards really the end of last year and just overall through last year, he was better than I thought he would be as a rookie. A year off in 2020 due to COVID, opting out in this last year of college football. I think he was better than I thought he would be early on. I don't know how you thought he was going to be early on. I was a little bit higher on Devontae Smith. And
I was high.
I remember there was a point last NFL season where Jamar Chase dropping all the balls in preseason. Then there was some with like Instagram. He did something on Instagram or something.
Yeah.
He was accused of something, and it was like, oh no, is Jamar Chase's career just going to go down the drain? And then 6 months later, he's in the Super Bowl and widely considered a top 5 receiver in the NFL, unless you're Madden. But Jamar Chase, Jamar Chase, I think. Just another year with Joe Burrow. Now his third year with Joe Burrow, second year in the NFL.
Technically fourth year.
Oh, well, technically fourth year. Yeah, technically fourth year. But I think Jamar Chase just another year I think he's gonna lead the NFL in touchdowns for receivers. I'm confident in Chase leading the NFL in touchdowns. and just the big playability, the ability to catch the ball and run after catch. He isn't the flashiest, best route runner, but he's literally elite in pretty much every other aspect of football. Besides maybe a little bit of drop sometimes, but that's always something that can be cleaned up. But I like Jamar Chase being the number 2 receiver in football this year and my number 3 offensive player of the year in football this year.
I like that.
So you like Jamar Chase, but you have him at bold. I don't think this is bold. Your reasoning was he's outside the top 10 in odds, which let's just pull up the odds real quick. You can talk about Chase, though. I'll pull up the odds.
Yeah, while he pulls up the odds, I don't necessarily have him as a bold prediction. I just wanted him to be on my list. So in a way, my bold for this is going to be my number 4 or T3. I think he'll be tied with Deebo Samuel. But like you said, Jamar Chase, this is his 4th year with Joe Burrow. Their chemistry is clearly special. Everyone can see it. I'm super excited to see him this year. He could very well. I mean, anyone on our list, if you look at our 3 guys at the top and then my 4th one, any of these guys can win it. And even your bold prediction, Najee Harris, could also win Offensive Player of the Year. None of these guys are out of the question. But Jamar Chase, personally, I actually love his route running. His route running is very underrated, I think, in my eyes. I mean, he's got the quarterback to give him the ball. He's got the speed to outrun just about everyone on the field. And he's got the hands to catch most of the catches. But yeah. What about your bold prediction of Najee Harris?
Real quick about Jamar Chase. So I looked at the odds. He's 15th in offensive. Wait, is this 15th? I think it's 14th in offensive play the odds. He's 6th in if you're just – oh, no, not – what am I doing? 9th if you're just going based off of running backs, receivers. The problem is they're putting 6 quarterbacks over him for offensive player of the year because I guess technically a quarterback can win it, although it usually doesn't happen. But I don't think we're even thinking about quarterbacks because we have them in the MVPs. So it would kind of be boring. But, most of the MVPs would be quarterbacks later on in this video. But my bold offensive player of the year candidate, probably maybe my number 4, maybe 5. Probably my 5. No, not 4 or 5. A little bit lower than that. Probably around the 6, 7, 8 range. Najee Harris, I think he's a very good dark horse pick if you're into the betting market. Not me, but if you are, I like Najee Harris this year because I think with that Steelers offense, as much as I like the receivers, I don't think that they're going to be the stars of the team. I think Najee Harris is going to be the star of the team offensively wise because I like his ability just to be a runner and a pass catcher. And I think that Najee Harris is going to really push 2,000, maybe even get 2,000 scrimmage yards this year with maybe getting 1,400 rushing yards, being the top 5 in rushing, as well as being in the top 5 of receiving for running backs with around 600-700 yards. So I really do like Najee Harris this year, and I think he's a good bold take for Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot.
But we can move on to Defensive Player of the Year. We have some differences in this one.
Yes.
Not like crazy differences, but quite a bit differences. Actually, now that I'm looking at the graphic, we only have one person the same, and that's Aaron Donald. But we can talk about, I guess, what do you want to start? You can start off this one.
All right. So I'm going to quickly start off with number 1, Myles Garrett. I think this year is going to be his year where he finally becomes historical. I could see him getting 19.5, 20 sacks this year, getting a bunch of pressures. I think he's going to have that year. If you look at the division that he plays in, the Ravens' offensive line isn't necessarily amazing. I know Lamar Jackson.
I think the Ravens' offensive line is pretty good.
It's
not amazing.
It's not amazing. I think it's good for Myles Garrett. I think the Bengals' offensive line, while it's improved, I don't necessarily think it's going to be good enough to keep him away. The Pittsburgh Steelers' offensive line is not good at all. I don't think it's good. I think it's a bottom 7.
What are you talking about? The Steelers' offensive line is elite. I'm kidding. Steelers' offensive line, I think I have like 31st. So yeah.
They're one of the 5 worst in the league.
Steelers' offensive line is not good. But
those are 3 teams that they play. Those are 3 teams that he plays twice a year. Where their offensive line is either above average or less than that. So I mean, that's gonna breed sacks. So that's why I think he's gonna be number 1.
So Myles Garrett, there's going to be a year where he just goes off, wins Defensive Player of the Year. Wouldn't shock me if it's this year. I just maybe with all that's happening with the Browns, I just don't think it's going to be that year. But I got Micah Parsons. After rewatching some Micah Parsons tape last year, specifically that Chiefs game, wow, this guy, if they can just rush him. He can play linebacker too. It's what makes him have a good shot at winning this because he's versatile. But just maybe 75, not 75, probably 65, 70% rushing the passer, 35% being an off-ball linebacker. I think he could be in this conversation and ultimately win it just because I think he has those pass rushing traits that everyone knew he was a capable pass rusher coming out of college, but he didn't do it a ton. So it was okay, can he play one role strictly in the NFL and be successful? Is he going to be kind of a gadget piece? They played him at both roles, off-ball linebacker and edge rusher, and he was very good in both places. So I think just the versatility, just a second year, considering Parsons was second last year as a rookie in Defensive Player of the Year, I don't think that was a fluke. I think he's going to just completely wreck opposing offenses this year. I think he's going to put up maybe 15, 16, 17 sacks, crazy high number, as well as playing a little bit of off-ball linebacker this year. And unlike last year, he didn't really get the takeaways. I think if besides forced fumbles, but not interceptions or anything, I think if he can get some maybe pass deflections and interceptions, an interception or two this year, that would only help his case. So I just think he's going to put up a monster traditional stat line, and that's what's really going to help him get Defensive Player of the Year.
I like that.
And he does have the popularity on his side, being a Cowboy still.
So I like Micah Parsons. I just didn't put him in the top three because I think these top three guys are all going to be really, really good this year. I think next year, though, I can see Micah Parsons winning it. He reminds me, in baseball terms, he kind of reminds me of a Shohei Ohtani. He's really good at the two things he does. Shohei Ohtani, he's really good at hitting the baseball, and he's really good at pitching the baseball. Micah Parsons is really good at getting the quarterback, and he's really good at guarding receivers and tight ends and running backs as a linebacker. So it's kind of cool to see a terminology for those two guys. I know it's a little weird to say because I know Shohei Ohtani is one of the best players of baseball. Micah Parsons is getting there, but just a little cross sport analogy. But I don't think it'll be this year. I think maybe it'll be next year.
My only concern with Micah Parsons winning this is I don't think the Cowboys' defense is going to be as good as last year with them. I think they led the league in takeaways. I don't think that's going to be something that's replicated.
Yeah.
And I just think overall losing Randy Gregory could hurt a little bit. And I think that they had guys who had career years on that defense, like a Jaron Kuss, who are they banking on that again? Trevon Diggs. Interceptions. I think Trevon Diggs is going to be a better corner as far as a lockdown perspective this year. But he's still going to have that ball hawking ability in him, but I don't think he's going to get 11 interceptions. But you can say maybe if he gives up 600-700 yards instead of over 1,000 and gets 6-7 interceptions, he's probably just as good of a player, or maybe even better with the ability to lock down other guys more than he did last year. But I think this defense is not going to be quite as good as last year, so that kind of scares me with picking Parsons to win Defensive Player of the Year. But I just like the talent. I think even if the defense still good but not elite, Parsons will be in that conversation to win Defensive Player of the Year. So we can move on to, I guess we can do your number 2 because I have him at number 3. Aaron Donald, we don't need to say much. Probably, we're just kind of it's boring if we pick Aaron Donald to win.
Yeah.
So for the sake of it, he is sounds like he's been contemplating retirement over the last year or so. So is that going to slow him down a little bit? I don't think it'll slow him down too much, but I don't know if we can. It's probably gonna sound stupid. Is he gonna be the best defensive player in football for 9 years in a row now again after the Super Bowl? Maybe.
I think it's probably, man. It's probably gonna happen. I put him at number 2 because I did want to put him at number 1. If I had to be literal,
didn't want to put him at number 1.
If I had to be quite literal, he is my number 1. I think he is the favorite. He's probably, to be honest with you, he's probably gonna win it. But
okay, so you sound a little bit more on Aaron Donald's side this year than me. I have him at 3 just because we sound so stupid when we say it's just boring to pick.
But no, it makes sense. It makes sense.
We pick him to Aaron Donald to win Defensive Player of the Year. It would be kind of boring, and it's just I don't know. Maybe he wins it again, but I kind of actually just don't see it this year for some reason after the Super Bowl, contemplating retirement. But who knows? He's been the best defensive player of the year for 8 or so years in a row now. It's not like it's any crazy to pick him to be that again. So I have Aaron Donald at 3, but we'll see how we'll see how this take ages. Watch him just go out and like set the sack record, and then we're like, yeah, maybe Aaron Donald's not going to be as good this year.
I don't know.
It sounds more like me saying that. You sound like you're pretty set on.
I'm pretty set on Aaron Donald. I just want to,
Okay. I still think Aaron Donald's very good. I have him at 3. And I think he's the best defense player in football, but a little bit of the boring aspect and maybe regresses a tad bit, but not significantly. So I have Aaron Donald at 3. On to our bold guys. I think yours is a little less bold than mine, just from popularity perspective. But I like Rashawn Gary a lot. I actually think he's a better, maybe not quite a better player than Joey Bosa right now. He's getting there. Had a case to be better than Joey Bosa last year with his performance, but both were good. But I think Gary is on top 3, 4, 5 defense in football with Green Bay this year with all the talent they have. I think he's that guy coming out of college with the traits, but not too much production. I think he's a better version of Trayvon Walker coming out of college. Did go lower than Trayvon Walker though, but I think Rashawn Gary finally hit his peak last year with his what do you want to call it? Like he got everything together. And his traits showed, and he put up very good numbers, and I think that's only going to improve. And honestly, I had him at 2 or 3 earlier in the offseason, but I was just like, 1, I'm not leaving Aaron Donald off, and 2, I really do like Parsons a lot and Bosa. So I have Rashawn Gary as my bold guy, but him and TJ Watt are probably my 4 and 5 guys for this anyway. So your bold guy, Joey Bosa, a guy who you've raved about for years now.
Yeah, I like Joey Bosa. I've always liked him. You know this. For the past 4 years, 5 years, I've always said how much I love Joey Bosa. I just think he's just going to be really good. He's got Khalil Mack on the other side, so you can't necessarily double team him. And I think he's finally healthy, like fully healthy again. And I think we're going to see him shine. He's a little bit bold. He's not that many people are talking about him this year. People think he's regressed. I don't think so, not yet. But I have him as my bold.
Ooh. Colin just followed us on Insta.
There you
go. But anyway, moving on to the next award. We got Coach of the Year. So we have pretty much every single one different. Coach of the Year is just, you can go any way, any year. You can pick anyone, really. Like, yeah. I don't even know who to pick. But I'm just going with Frank Reich, Nick Sirianni, my top 2, because I think both of the teams are going to be in the top 1 to 2 seeds in the conference this year. I'm very high on both teams, and those schedules are cupcakes. So I think these are 2 coaches. Sirianni was, I think, close to winning it last year, taking that Eagles team to the playoffs. But I think that the Eagles team is going to be in conversation for a top seed in the NFC overall this year. But I do think, I don't think most people think they're going to be that good. I feel like people maybe are a little bit, I don't know. I'm just saying that people are going to be a little bit higher on the Eagles' chances of getting that 1 seed than the Colts maybe, just because the Colts playing a tougher conference. But I don't know who people think are the better team. But anyway, I like the Colts coach Frank Reich this year, getting his Coach of the Year. He's a proven good coach, but he hasn't had that team that just dominates football. And I think that the Colts really can be that team this year that kind of just goes out there, runs the ball, and they throw the ball too with Matt Ryan. Those weapons, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, they play very lockdown defense. They don't get much penalties, and they just go in and beat you and win a lot of those tough games that maybe you don't quite expect them to win before the year, even though everyone knows they're a good team, I think. But I think the Colts are going to be a 12-13 win team this year. I think they'll probably end up going to be my 1 seed. That'll be in next week's pod of predictions. But I have Frank Reich winning Coach of the Year, followed by Nick Sirianni. I covered my top 2, so you can cover Sean McDermott and Dan Campbell if you want.
All right, so Sean McDermott is my number 1. Woo! I mean, this Bills team, I mean, we both see it. Their rosters are stacked. I mean, I don't see any other coach winning it this year other than Sean McDermott. I think the Bills are going to be the best team in football in the regular season. I think everything is going right for them. I think my Coach of the Year and the person we'll talk about next on the next part of the list, they go hand in hand. And then number 2 for Dan Campbell. I see the Lions as a playoff team. This is in my bold predictions podcast a while ago now, almost probably a month ago. And I said Dan Campbell might win. I think Dan Campbell is a Coach of the Year. candidate because I think he's going to bring the gutter to being a 9 to 10 win season and possibly make the playoffs, which is crazy. I know people are not going to agree with me. Last year, I predicted the Bengals would make the playoffs and they would go far in the playoffs. Everyone thought I was nuts. So the Lions are my 1 year, like my surprise pick of the year. But moving on. Actually, do you have anything to say about Sean McDermott or Dan Campbell?
Not really. Sean McDermott's a good candidate. I guess if the Bills go like 14-3 or 15-2, Sean McDermott probably wins this award, but I don't quite think the Bills are gonna do that good. I think they're gonna be really good, but I just like Frank Reich and this Colts. Frank Reich's chances a little bit more than McDermott, so yeah, I think the Bills for Sean McDermott to win this would have to really do something historically good, like I said, 14, 15, 16 wins, which I think is tough to do, as good of a team as they are. So, Dan Campbell, I think you're a little bit too hyped on this one. I just feel like the Lions would have to win probably 10 games, sneak into the playoffs, probably like you have them for Dan Campbell. And I just don't see really, I don't know if I want to say any chance, but close to any chance that happens. I think this team is a 3, 4, 5 win team. Nowhere near where you have them. But why am I talking? Because as we see in the bottom left, I'm about to have to explain why I have someone in bold. But at least it's in bold and not second. But we can move on to third. For both of us, coaches of pretty good teams. Todd Bowles, Bucks. I think being first-year head coach helps him. I think the Bucks, much like the Eagles, Bucks are going to be in the conversation for the 1 seed in the NFC. You have Kyle Shanahan, sneaky team who I think could sneakily be the 1 seed in the NFC as well, if all goes well. So what do you have to say about Shanahan? Bowles, I'll just quickly say, first-year coach is Bucks. He was a coach before in the NFL with the Jets, but first time being the head coach for the Bucks and on a very good team. That's just a recipe to maybe win coach of the year. But what do you have to say about Kyle Shanahan, who I think is the top 2 coach in the NFL?
I agree, but he's pretty low on the odds. I think Kyle Shanahan has a chance to win this year. It all depends. If Trey Lance plays really, really well, then I think Kyle Shanahan will probably be winning coach of the year only because the 49ers have a chance to be that 1 seed. If Trey Lance doesn't play as well and there may be a wild card team or maybe not even the play coach of the year. It all depends on Trey Lance.
So now we can get into a bold, guys. So first, I told Graham that we weren't going to do bold predictions because if you look at the coach of the year odds, all like the second year, first year head coaches are like the top 10 guys, and then after that, you got like the Sean Payton, like the
Sean McVay's,
Andy
Reid,
Belichick's, Andy Reid. It's like if you can't pick one of them to be a bold pick. So we went to like the bottom of the odds for both of us. Dennis Allen, I was surprised, was super low on the odds to win coach of the year. Matt Eberflus, I cannot say I'm surprised he was super low on the odds. But Graham put his favorite team's head coach, so I'm putting my favorite team's head coach. All bias segment right here. Matt Eberflus is a bold prediction for maybe having a chance to win coach of the year. Why? The Bears went 3-0 in preseason. We look good. We have a chance to surprise the world this year. If we can win the 9-10 game mark, Matt Eberflus immediately goes from being a coach that people ask him why are they hiring him because he's a defensive guy, to automatically being in the coach of the year conversation just because the national media thinks this team is arguably the worst team in football, which this team is not the worst team in football.
They are.
There's a good handful of teams that are worse than this Bears team right here. But the Bears are going to, if they can shock the world, I don't think they will. If they can shock the world and push 9 or 10 wins, Matt Eberflus is a good candidate for coach of the year. He's in bold because I don't really think that the Bears are going to be that good. And I just had to throw my guy in here because Graham threw his guy in here. So that's that.
I can't believe you just said that. My bold, a bit more reasonable. Dennis Allen, first-year head coach for the Saints. He was the head coach before. I forgot what team. But I like
He was the Raiders head coach.
Raiders, that's right. Raiders post John Gruden. Oh, my gosh, post John Gruden. The first John Green era, not the second one. But I like him. I remember him as a defensive coordinator the first year, and that was the first year the defense finally, stepped up. He's a good leader. I think he's got it in him. I'm a very big believer in coaches have to be leaders. There's a reason why Dan Campbell's second and Dan.
I wasn't laughing at you. I had just a thought in my mind of someone I could have put on this list, but he's not a coach in the NFL anymore, so I don't even put him.
John Gruden?
No, first you said John Gruden, then I thought of another head coach last year that got fired. That would have been a list to put on here, but he's not in the NFL. So
who?
Urban.
Who?
Urban Meyer.
Oh God. Hey man. Okay, moving on to continuing about Dennis Allen.
Hey, Urban Meyer jokes aren't funny.
They are not funny. It's a stub guy. But I like Dennis. I think Dennis Allen, if the Saints
Urban Meyer is going to be back on Fox this year. He was good on Fox, so I'm excited for that college football Urban Meyer pregame show.
Yeah, keep him away from his bar though. He might get a little excited.
But anyway, do you have anything to add, or did I interrupt you?
You did interrupt me a little bit, but I'll end it off. If the Saints are good, Dennis Allen has a chance to win Coach of the Year. If you're a sports betting guy, I would bet on Dennis Allen. Really, 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 really high odds, or low odds to win it, and I mean it's a high payday if he gets it.
Okay, actually. Now that we talked about Urban Meyer, I'll talk about Urban Meyer.
Oh, Lord.
I feel like the Jaguars fired Urban Meyer too quick.
Move on. Please just move on. Move on, because now you're gonna get it all personal.
But 13 he played coach like 13 games. I get that.
Nick, he did he got fired for the way he was coaching and for the other personal
I
stuff.
get the stuff that went on with the personal stuff. The team wasn't performing very well. It sounded even like Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence wanted him out, but it sounded from the interview I watched that maybe he had a say in it. But okay,
let's not get into that.
That's Urban, he wasn't good in the NFL coaching, but I mean, 13 games is kind of rough. Like, at least give him the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Maybe he should have got the rest of the season. If the Jaguars kind of got together, okay, give him another chance. But if they didn't get together, then maybe they want to hire Doug Peterson. But I still think that they kind of jumped the gun a little too quick. But I do like the Doug Peterson hire. So, anyway. You didn't expect to hear.
I did not expect
Urban Meyer talking this spot.
Urban Meyer, gosh. I can't believe he's on Fox again.
I like Urban Meyer on Fox though. But anyway, we got the big boy award, the MVP award. Josh Allen is both our MVPs. Joe Burrow second. So Graham, I'm gonna try to challenge your logic here. I was thinking, okay, you had Mahomes 1 in the quarterback rankings. That means he's your MVP. You look like you had a change of mind or something, or what's going on here? 2 weeks later, you have Josh Allen as your MVP.
Patrick Mahomes is back because he's the best quarterback in football. That doesn't mean he's going to win MVP. I think Josh Allen.
No, but I'm talking about it was predictions for this year. The top quarterback usually wins MVP.
That's right.
So
okay, let me.
Josh Allen's your MVP.
I figured it out. I know how I'm gonna avoid your question. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be the best quarterback in football by the end of the year. I don't think his team is going to be good enough for him to win MVP.
Okay, I kind of factor in the team, how it affects the stats for the projected quarterback rankings, but I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
With Josh Allen being MVP. But anyway, I've talked a lot about Josh Allen. You can talk about him if you want. We talked about him on the projected quarterback rankings. I talked about him on the projected quarterback rankings video, the pod. I've talked enough about Josh Allen. Moral of the story with Josh Allen is I think he's been close the last couple of years, and I think that this year, with the extra weapon, Khalil Shakir in the slot.
He's looked good.
I think with this, just the motivation, with maybe the Bills' hype, maybe that helps. I think he's going to be more consistent this year than past years, and I think he clearly has the talent because he's been close the last couple of years. And I think just the weapons are getting to a point where they're just really good now. So I got Josh Allen winning MVP. You got Josh Allen. Do you want to say anything else? Did I kind of
As long as he is consistent and he plays how he did last year and doesn't have a game like the Jacksonville Jaguars game where the other Josh Allen just puts him to school, I think this is a no-brainer for MVP.
We can talk about number 2 now, Joe Burrow, a guy that we're very high on. I just think the Bengals are going to have a historically good offense this year, and that automatically puts Joe Burrow in the MVP talk. I think he should have won it last year. His advanced stats were amazing. He led that Bengals team to the playoffs and then the Super Bowl. The playoffs don't count for that MVP talk, but I think his regular season was good enough to really make him be a strong candidate last year to win MVP. But I think Burrow is going to be just very close to kind of winning this over Allen. I think it comes down to Week 17, Monday Night Football. These teams play each other, I think, in Cincinnati. I have the Bills winning that game, but I think the winner of that game, that likely can determine where they rank in the AFC overall, and just who wins MVP overall too, because kind of see the two guys playing head-to-head right before you vote who wins MVP. I think Allen is going to win that game, and that really is what puts Allen at 1 for me. And I think the Bills overall as a team maybe slightly better than Cincinnati, but it's like neck and neck. So what do you have to say about Joe Burrow?
You know how much I love Joe Burrow. Everybody should know how much I love Joe Burrow. And your reason on why Josh Allen is over Joe Burrow is the exact same reason on why I have Josh Allen over Joe Burrow. Week 17, these two teams are going to play up against each other, and Joe Burrow is going to get outplayed by Josh Allen. I think Joe Burrow, in the long run, is going to be a better quarterback. I think a Tom Brady, Drew Brees mentality where, you could just rely on him. Josh Allen, he's a little bit more like, he reminds me a lot of Aaron Rodgers. Gunslinging, strong-armed quarterback who is sometimes a little bit unreliable when it comes into clutch situations. But I think this year, Josh Allen's going to get the upper hand. These 3 guys that I have, 1, 2, and 3, are going to be 3 of like the 5 guys in our adult generation that are just going to be all going for MVPs.
Well, you can see, I think there's a big 4 right now. Like how you had your big 4 like years ago with Brees, Rodgers, Brady, Manning. I think that new big 4 is going to be Allen, Burrow, Mahomes, Justin Herbert. Sneaky chance.
Trevor Lawrence.
Can Trevor Lawrence get into that conversation?
I see
Trevor Lawrence too getting into that conversation.
Okay, that's why I said big 5.
He's got to prove it to me this year, although I do think he's going to prove it this year that he can be maybe in that conversation for years to come with the big 4. Now big 5 if Trevor Lawrence can get in that combo. But anyway, we can move on. You have Mahomes 3. We can talk about Mahomes, then we'll rave about the Colts because we have him at 3 for me and bold takes. But you can talk about Mahomes real quick.
Best quarterback in football. If the Chiefs are really, really good this year and they somehow find a way to be number 1 in the AFC, he's going to win MVP.
If the Chiefs are the 1 seed, Mahomes winning MVP.
No exactly. That's all I have to say. We all know how good
you're talking to someone who's on the borderline of whether I should predict the Chiefs to make the playoffs.
I'm the same way. No, don't get me wrong. I'm the same way. Like I said, these number 3 for me is always going to be a question mark. Like, he's my 50-50 pick.
So I can talk about my number 3 now, Jonathan Taylor. I think he's going to just have an all-around amazing year, like you said. And we both said before, with the Offensive Player of the Year. And I think with me being so high on the Colts this year, which we'll get into next week, I think he's going to be in the conversation for MVP once again, like last year, this year. I don't think he was top 3 last year, although the top 3 were Rodgers, Brady, Cup. But Taylor was like 4 or 5. But I think that Taylor is going to have a shot at MVP this year. I don't quite think he's going to win it, mainly because he has a running back, and he'd have to do something extremely historic, along with maybe having a down year from the quarterback position overall, which I think if there's a year to win MVP for a running back, it was probably last year. But we can talk about a bold guy who's outside the top 10 who we think has a chance at winning MVP. So I was between 2 guys here. Jalen Hurts, but he was inside the top 10. I think it was 9 or 10 for odds. Then I had Matt Ryan, and then my other guy would be Trey Lance. But I think he was even around the 11-12 range. So
yeah, he was 14.
High on odds. He was 15, 14?
14.
Okay. Well, Matt Ryan was outside the top 10. A guy we're both high on this year as far as having just a really good late.
We're both high on the
late year, a sneaky career season in his late
Yeah.
part of his career. Maybe not quite his 2016 MVP season because that was very good, but I think he's going to have one of the better seasons of his career now with a good team on the Colts. And I think you just got to really wait till see how we predict the Colts to be next week to understand why we have Matt Ryan at the bold MVP take.
Man, it's crazy to think how similar our rankings would be, because you know who my 5 and 6 were?
Taylor and who?
Trey Lance, Jalen Hurts.
Your 5 and 6 MVP candidates
was Jalen Hurts, Trey Lance, and then 7 was Jonathan Taylor.
Huh? Wait, like bold as far as bold goes?
Yeah.
Because I was about to say, I don't think you think Trey Lance or Jalen Hurts is going to be a better quarterback than Brady this year.
No.
I mean, like, as far as bold.
Like, if you go after Matt Ryan, I can see those guys being dark horses. Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing really else to say about Matt Ryan. He doesn't have to worry about getting sacked by Cam Jordan 2 times a year, so I guess that's going to be a good thing for him. I like him. I mean, I've seen him play for a while. He's not necessarily bad. He's a really good quarterback. He's a top 15 quarterback in football. He may just spark up this year since he actually has the weapons and the offensive line around him to be successful. The last time he had an offensive line and valuable weapons and a really good defense, he went to the Super Bowl and won MVP. So, I mean, I could see it.
I don't think Matt Ryan's play has really dropped off much since then either. Like, I think he's still very good processor, very good accuracy-wise, makes good decisions for the most part.
He's one of the best game-managing quarterbacks in football.
He can actually roll out to a little bit.
Yes.
More than you would think, just like thinking, oh, Matt Ryan, old guy, 2008 or whatever, pocket quarterback. But he can actually roll out a little bit more than you would think. And I do think Wells' deep ball may be a slight step back. I think that might be overblown. I think it was just mainly with the Falcons offense. They couldn't really push the ball downfield because of bad O-line. Because of bad O-line, too. He was pressured so fast. Now with one of the better O-lines in football, I think Matt Ryan is going to just have an amazing year statistically and just from the eye test standpoint. And I still think he's got some arm left in him. I don't think he's washed. I think he's got some left in him, and I think he's going to prove that this year with a sneaky dark horse MVP caliber season. So this podcast went a little bit actually shorter than I thought it would go. I thought we'd be pushing an hour and a half with all that we had to talk about. Kind of went through the news very quick and went through the early awards very quick too. So that's our podcast. I was supposed to have my defensive rankings out like by this time, but running a little bit behind on those, so you can expect those out maybe this weekend. Going to try to get those out this weekend. That'll be in a video, but that's just defense rankings. And then next week we have a podcast for our award predictions. That'll be a fun one. That's predictions. Gonna be fun. Oh, record predictions. We just did award. Fun one will be record predictions, and this one was fun.
We are going to get heated.
We're going to get heated next week.
100%.
Better have time to do it because it's going to be a long pod. Better have time to do a long pod because we got a lot to say about award predictions. But anyway,
record predictions, Nick.
I'm tired. It's late. It's almost bedtime. But anyway, also there's going to be probably do Tuesday or Wednesday next week. We'll probably do the record predictions, I'm thinking. And then probably the day after we do record predictions, literally right before the season starts, Thursday night Bills-Rams game, I'll have my power rankings going into week 1 out, and that'll be that. And then after that, as far as once we get in season, we're gonna have a good show every single week. We're gonna be talking game previews, recaps, Graham's top 10 teams. I'm gonna be doing like my MVP ladder. Who's my MVP every week, like of so far from up to that point of the season. Who are my MVP candidates? So we may also try to throw in a little bit college football if we can at some points, but yeah, there are going to be weekly power ranking videos, podcasts, and we'll try to get out some other videos too. But that'll be that for this pod. And anything else to add before we close out, Graham?
Yeah, there's one thing I got to say.
Don't mention Dan.
I have to.
Okay, and that'll be the pod.
Have
a good one.
No.